Hello, I'm Robert, and fact checker and science blogger, and helping people who are scared of various things, and for Doomsday Debunked on Facebook and anyone else who's scared. So I'm getting quite a few PMs from people who are scared of this asteroid, 1998 OR2, and someone asked me on YouTube to make this video. The answer is, it is totally harmless. There's absolutely no risk at all from this. And in this case, the NASA Center for Near-Earth Object Studies actually did a tweet about it saying there's never been any warning and the Daily Express article is just false when it says that there is a warning. As I say down there, a Daily Express article implying there is a warning about this asteroid is false. So Daily Express do countless, just sometimes every week, sometimes even more often. They just pick a random harmless asteroid and they say this asteroid is going to hit Earth and kill millions, based on nothing, just made up from their minds. Just make this idea up. They've even claimed that the asteroid Vesta, which is the second largest asteroid in the asteroid belt, orbits permanently way beyond Mars, and they've claimed that we're at risk from that. They would say, the Daily Express would claim that the moon is about to hit Earth if they thought anybody would be gullible enough to believe it. It just, every day is like April Fool's Day in the Daily Express, except they don't say April Fool and they don't leave any hints that the story's made up. And this is expected. I live in the UK. Daily Express is a publication in the UK, and people just expect them to make stuff up. They always do. They've been making it up for decades. It's just what they do. And if you buy the Daily Express, you expect to be entertained. You don't expect to be informed about things like this, unless you're very gullible yourself, like someone who is easily fooled. Not for these kind of stories. They would never make up a fake obituary. They would never make up a fake sports result. But they will constantly making up fake stories about the world ending. Just the way they are. And so that's the official CNEOS, Center for Near-Earth Object Studies. This is a Snopes debunk. I did a debunk about this a fair while back. And this is how Daily Express, asteroid alert, 4 kilometer rock, pictured on close approach, could kill millions if it hits. And then here's how Earth Sky, a reputable astronomy online magazine, ran it. Here's how to see that huge asteroid that'll safely pass Earth in April. So that's the truth. And they're quite good. And they're decent at this sort of thing. Now I'm just going to show you, this is a video from them that they did. And this is about how people worry sometimes that we're finding so many asteroids, and there's so many, every year there seem to be more asteroids that they know about. Well, they've always been there. It's just that they're gradually discovering them, and with better and better telescopes. So this is how the number we knew about in 1999. And then notice how this number jumps as they're going to pop forward, I think, a decade at the end, 2009. And you can see how many more are discovered then. And then now go forward another one, 2018. Look at the vast numbers that are known now. And that's all known asteroids, not just the ones close to Earth. So vast numbers of asteroids. Vesta, when I talked about, orbits permanently there. Earth is there. So as you can see, Vesta can never hit us. And so with all these asteroids, then you might think, that looks very scary, there's so many asteroids, and doesn't that mean that one's going to hit us? What the problem there is, you just have no idea, most people have no idea about how vast the space is between the planets. And even if you just look at the distance from the Earth to the Moon, because it's very, very close to the Earth. So if we go and look at that, I did a little calculation here for you. Then the speed of a 747, that's our fastest passenger jet, 920 kilometers per hour. Distance to the Moon, 384,400 kilometers. Now you divide one by the other, you get a number of hours. Divide by 24, get a number of days. If you were to travel around the Earth on a 747, it would take more than 17 days to travel the same distance as the distance to the Moon. That's travelling non-stop without any refueling. and without pausing to sleep at night. If you're sleeping at night, it would take a lot longer, a month or so, just to travel as far as the moon. It's a vast distance, and then the distance between the, well, we can do the same with the distance to the sun. Let's look distance. And that's 149.6 million. So let's see what that is in days. Just substitute it in to that same formula. Now divide that, and that would take 6,775 days. Then we can divide that by 365 to get the number of years it would take to get to the sun. And the answer would take about 18 years. So if you were travelling from here to here to the sun, it would take you 18 years of travel on a 747. So that gives you an idea of the scale of this diagram, and that's just why, even though there's so many asteroids, really your risk is absolutely minute of being hit by anything big. And indeed, we know all the 1 kilometre ones, we know all the ones of 10 kilometres or larger of these asteroids. We know them all because our telescopes are that good. And none of them can hit us for thousands of years. We know all the ones of we know nearly all the ones of 1 kilometre or larger, and those are the ones that are just big enough to have some global effects. One of those happened 700,000 years ago. That was the last one. And Homo erectus, sort of previous before humans, then their tools can be found amongst the tektites from this asteroid. And so that 1 kilometre is just big enough to have some effects on global weather for a few weeks to a month or so, maybe. Most likely not as much as that. And so it could impact on our food for one year. If you had a 1 kilometre asteroid hit the Earth below that, then there's no effect at all on the global climate. And there's no other effects. You're not going to get rocks falling around the world from a small asteroid. The tektites will go a certain distance, but not all the way around the world, and they're just little rocks. So even if we were hit by a 1 kilometre asteroid, then if you knew where it was headed, then nobody would die. And we just evacuate the area that it's going to hit. And over a larger area, tell people to stand away from windows, because the windows are liable to be broken by the blast wave. And if they're following an asteroid, then typically they know exactly where it's going to hit about a week before. And you can evacuate a city in 2 days. They do that for hurricanes. So if we're tracking an asteroid, there is no way that people are going to die of it so long as they follow the instructions. So if we ever do get a warning of a large asteroid, but it's far more likely we get these for the big ones. I would have to look up the numbers, but for every large asteroid, there are many of the small ones, and most of all of the asteroids are really tiny. And the most common ones that could actually get through our atmosphere, every year we're hit by fireballs, by tiny little asteroids up to a few meters across. They just burn up completely in the atmosphere, and you just see a bright light as bright as the moon, harmless, going across the sky, and sometimes even brighter, getting on for the brightness. The Chelyabinsk one, which was still not large enough for much to survive to the ground level, and it harmed people through the blast wave and glass breaking, and it was bright enough so some people got harmful sunburn from it. So a really bright asteroid can be brighter than the sun. But it's still, as long as you know that it's coming, you take precautions. You wouldn't even need to evacuate anywhere for something like Chelyabinsk. Just say to everyone, keep away from the windows. This asteroid is going to be coming past, and your windows are going to break, and watch out for flying glass and protect your face from the sun from the brightness if you're very close to it, then you'll be fine. So those are far more common than the big ones, and then most of the Earth's surface is ocean. So even if you're hit by something like that, its chances are it's going to splash into the ocean, and we're not even going to need to deflect it. But we can deflect even the really big ones. Anyway, so I could go on quite a bit. I've got my various articles I've talked about before, but the main thing is that you really have no risk at all from this asteroid. It's impossible. It's just not in the right orbit to hit us. And it's as impossible as the moon hitting us, because they know its orbit very well. And if there ever is a real asteroid warning, it's much more likely to be a very small one. So 20 to 50 meters or so. That's by far the most likely next asteroid warning. We know, as I said, we know nearly all the 1 kilometer ones, and it's only one of all the ones that we know that has any possibility of hitting Earth out of 95% of them. That's for 2880, so it's 4 centuries in the future, and it's expected to miss. It's extremely unlikely to hit. And most likely it's hundreds of thousands of years before we hit by anything as big as 1 kilometre. And it's exceedingly unlikely that any of the remaining 5% of those that we haven't discovered yet has any chance at all of hitting us, even for centuries. So that risk is almost eliminated, the 1 kilometre ones. And then the smaller ones we can be hit by, they're all local, and then as long as we're tracking them, so that's why there's a big effort to track them, and we've got another big telescope, the large synoptic survey telescope is coming online in the next year or two, and this one will have 4 times the reach, which means 64 times the search volume of the ones. So you can expect that, as I showed there, we've got all these, and you notice the big jump from 2009. Where's 2009? So you can see that's 2018. That's 2018, right? That's just gradually fading, I think, from one to the other. That's 2009. So big leap from there to 2018. There's going to be another very big leap in the numbers that we discover to, say, 2029. Then we'll know vastly more than that. The LST will be able to see the same asteroid at 4 times the distance from Earth, and can see really small ones. So we're going to have another big jump like that. Not just that we find a few more at the same rate. We're going to have a huge increase in the rate that we discover asteroids starting in the early 2020s. And we've also got early asteroid alerts that detect asteroids coming our way early on. It's still possible, especially for small ones, to slip through the net, but your personal risk is absolutely minute. It's much less than for lightning. It's far less even than for the very rare death by hailstone. So very occasionally someone will die from hailstones, the very big ones, especially they're foolish enough to go out when the hailstones are so big that they're making dents in their cars, which obviously is not very safe. So you can die of hailstones, but that's extremely rare. You can die of asteroids. There have been a few people who have died in the 21st century. The 3 reindeer herders died in 1908. There was 1940s or something. There was a small hamlet in Mexico, and a few people died there. So you can die of a small asteroid, but then lots of people die every year of car accidents and accidents in the road. Trip down, fall down your stairs. Your actual personal risk from an asteroid is absolutely minute. And then as we discover all these asteroids, and especially if we start having space telescopes, and then this will just completely fill up, and we'll know all of them, and even down to, we'll know just about all the ones. They hope to find nearly all the ones down to 140 meters, but with the space telescope we could go much lower than that. And I would think that by the 2040s and 50s, then we will no longer be having deaths by asteroid at all. They will just be warning people and saying, look, this asteroid is going to hit Earth on this particular day, on this particular time. They know the time of impact to a minute, they will know the position, and probably to a second, and then they will know the position of where it's going to hit to within 100 metres. We already know that within a week. And go forward another couple of decades, they probably know that a month in advance or something, and exactly where it's going to hit. If we're tracking them, so tracked asteroids are absolutely safe. If they're being tracked and we know where they're going and we can track them, especially if we can track them in the week before impact, you're not going to die of it. Nobody's going to die of it so long as they listen to the instructions. And so if there ever is a real asteroid warning, it's likely to be very small, 20 to 50 metres. And asteroid experts will be talking about it on TV with a big story, like a hurricane, just like they talk about hurricanes on TV. They will talk about this asteroid and say, on such and such a day, they either say, we're going to deflect it. And then you'll be following all the news of how they deflect it. And so if they spot an asteroid that's of some size, and they spot it a couple of decades in advance especially, then it's relatively easy to deflect most asteroids with that much time in advance. And so you'll be following on the news, all the news about the deflection mission. You're launching a Falcon Heavy or something like that with a big mass in it, and they'll just hit the asteroid with it, and that would deflect the asteroid and push it out of the way. And then, or if it's a small one, they'll just say, look out if you're in the Siberian tundra, if you're a reindeer herder, look out and don't graze your reindeer in this particular area on this particular day at this particular time, because your reindeer will be killed, and then some of you will be killed. If they'd had that warning in 1908, none of the reindeer would have been killed, and nor would any of the reindeer herders. Or they'd say, if you're in this particular hamlet in Mexico, then we can't deflect this in time. We've only just discovered it 2 weeks before it hits or something. But do be sure to get out of your way, and your houses will be destroyed, sadly, but you're going to be safe. And so that's where you are if it's actually detected in advance. It's exceedingly unlikely that we actually get anything that hits a city of any size. That's likely thousands of years in the future if you go by probability. And the most likely place that a small asteroid will hit is in the ocean. And so the most likely alert that we're going to get in the near future would be 20 to 50 metre asteroid, 20 metre asteroid, most likely the small ones, going to hit the Pacific Ocean, the largest of the oceans. And if you are a sailor, avoid this little area of the Pacific Ocean, or you'll be hit by an asteroid. That's by far the most likely next asteroid alert. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It could easily be a desert, it could be an ice sheet, it could be a forest, and there's a very remote chance that it's in a farming area or an urban area. And in that case, the warning would be, watch out, this asteroid is going to be very bright, as bright as the sun. Be sure to protect your face with lots of sunscreen, or get somewhere shady if you're within 10 such a certain distance of it, and keep away from flying glass, and you'll be okay. So that's kind of another possible near future asteroid warning. And anyway, if we get anything like this, it'll be on mainstream TV. It's big news. First ever predicted small asteroid impact, and you'll get astronomers and kind of space geeks trying to get seats on a jet or something that will fly past at the moment of impact, so they can watch it. And if it's in the sea, to see the crater go up, and that'll be very useful for modelling and understanding how the effects of asteroid impacts. So anyway, so if it's a real asteroid warning, it will be big news. All the astronomers will be talking about it. It'll be on the TV if it's large enough. So we've had small asteroid warnings, a few meters across, and not just astronomy news, because there's not any harm to anyone. So we've had 4 of those so far. But those are totally harmless. They're just like these fireballs, but predicted in advance. We have many fireballs every year anyway, and so you do get those small asteroid warnings anyway. But they're not asteroid warnings in the sense of the Daily Express. There've never been any warning of a harmful asteroid. Just tiny ones that are little bright things for the astronomers to know and go and try and see if they can spot it and to predict where the fireball is going to be seen. But if we get one that is an actual harm, has any risk of harm to anyone, it'll be big news and it'll be on TV, and all the asteroid experts will be talking about it, and they will tell you what to do, and they will talk about deflection missions and everything. So you don't need to be scared about any tracked asteroid, because basically they're on the case. The astronomers are on the case, and if it is anything you need to know about, then you will hear all about it as the time approaches.